Welcome to Red V TV's instant fan reaction supported by A-Star Recruitment for the 2020 season following Saints' 32-18 victory over Hull KR this afternoon. Kev, it wasn't 46-0, you can put it away.
Everybody was waiting to hear a tune then as well.
And you were that confident in my predictions you'd spent the week learning.
I'd spent all weekend learning Three Blind Mice for you.
As Stuart Pike said on commentary, there was a lot of experts this week who were predicting a win between 40 and 50-0. And as David Rigby has so eloquently put on our Twitter, and me.
Well, yeah, it just shows that experts and you know nothing.
It started off so well though, didn't it? Big Al going over early doors, and then we made it 12-0. And then we seemed to... Did we switch off for a little bit, or did it just become a little bit too easy, or did Hull KR, is it doing them a disservice because they forced their way back into the game?
Yeah, on commentary, they mentioned that Tony Smith said that Hull KR had shown us a little bit too much respect. And once they started getting into it, they looked a better team for it. So it might be doing them a little bit of disrespect. We missed a load of chances early on, and I think we were mainly the architects of our own problems. But then we kept on allowing Hull KR to offload and get the passes away and kind of do something similar that they tried against Warrington. But I think we could have nipped all that in the bud if we'd have been a little bit more clinical and less errors.
I thought it could have been 18-0 when that first ball went out to Wellesby. They give a knock on, didn't he, before he touched down? I thought it actually came off his shins and he dove on and scored. But it was weird that we didn't even go to the video ref for it. And then obviously Hull KR got back in the game. We had that disruption in the first half as well with Theo Farge going off with a hyperextended knee, we believe. That looks likely to keep him out for a few weeks. We moved Roby into the halves today. What did you make of that?
I was expecting a bit of a reshuffle, but I think fair play for sticking with the team that you've trained with probably all week and moving one player rather than moving 3 or 4 about. Obviously, we've come away with the win, so it's vindicated as a correct choice. If we'd have come away with a defeat after moving people around and kind of being a bit frailer defensively, then obviously you turn around and say, well, we shouldn't have, we should have just moved 1 or 2. So I'm quite happy that he's kind of stuck to his guns with that. Yeah, Theo was a big miss. We also missed Zeb Tyre, didn't we? He went off injured, I think. Anyway, I didn't see him come back onto the pitch. It's only later on that I've kind of realised he's not there. So you start missing players like that, and it's going to cause you issues. Hull KR had injury issues, but you've got to kind of... Yeah, you've got to give some praise to the coach for him just sticking with kind of his team that he's been training all week.
Yeah, I think I tweeted out in the first half. I thought at half time we might have that little bit of a reshuffle. I thought that Jack Wellesby may come into the halves and maybe go Costello Nagama and Grace and
Bentley, Peru,
in the centres. But then you heard towards the end of the game when they said that we haven't had a coach at training for a couple of weeks. Obviously, we know it was one of the coaching staff who had initially tested positive before the negative tests, but track and trace had forced Christian Wolff and the others to not attend training, which obviously explains why the interviews with Christian Wolff this week were filmed from his own house rather than down at the club. So maybe that explains why we didn't want to be tinkering too much, and it was just easier to move Robes into the halves and put Smith at 9.
Well, not only that, I mean, Aaron Smith actually kind of stepped up a little bit for me in that game. I've always said I want him kind of to take the ball from dummy half as well. He did that with his try. He played what was in front of him, and that is good to see. That's a proper positive thing for me. But let's just have a word for James Roby. He makes playing rugby league look so easy. The cutout ball for Wellesby's second try
was as good as Lomax.
it's as good as Lomax, Fage, anybody you're going to see. He just makes it look so easy. He's just fitted into a slightly different position. I know he kept on trying to get in at dummy half quite a bit with Aaron Smith on the pitch, and he kept on being shooed away really. But the bloke is just class. He's absolute class, and he can just fit into that role that he played earlier in his career. But he's not played it for the past God knows how long. But he just fits in there, and there was never, I don't think, a worry that we were going to lose that game with him at 7.
Some of the tweets we received towards the end of the first half and at half time, do people lose their heads a little bit because we haven't gone 20 points ahead and that teams have actually given us a game? Instead of just looking at it, yeah, we weren't quite at it for the last 10, 15 minutes of the first half, but all of a sudden, we're getting people losing heads thinking we're going to lose the game. And I was tweeting that. I thought we'd still win by 20. As it was 14 in the end. But I was never, ever in any doubt that we would go on and still win that game. We were just challenged more than we normally would have been.
We potentially needed half-time just to get in and clear heads. I think if it had been a game where you just play 80 minutes straight through, then we'd have needed some kind of stoppage, some kind of big break to kind of get everybody together and get a message back out there. Yeah, I think I always say about social media, it's instant gratification. You can write something down and send it and forget about what you've sent 20 minutes later when it's going to score 2 tries. But yeah, that's it. I think it's one of them that obviously from our point of view, we kind of take a little bit of a step back from it at times. And I didn't think we were going to lose that game. I thought it might have been tight. And as I said in the preview, it was going to be a tighter game than you thought it was going to be. Admittedly, I did still say 24, but I thought it'd be tight until the last 60. So it didn't surprise me because Hull KR can throw it about. We weren't stopping the offload. I think we just needed to get the message clear with the lads. And that's what happened in the second half. And again, it was our own errors that contributed to Hull KR kind of staying kind of in touch.
Yeah. When we're tweeting live during these games as well, we're tweeting live on what we see on first look. Hull KR's second try, I thought Johnny Lomax, I thought he got shoved out the way, which meant he wasn't in position to take the bouncing ball, and Hull KR scored. People have tweeted afterwards saying Lomax run across the line and tried to shield Regan Grace, but all players do that. Maybe it would have been harsh not to give the try, but people don't seem to realise you tweet live during these things, and when people are replying 5 minutes later on the benefits of hindsight is a wonderful thing.
Yeah, just going back to that one, the first thing I thought was Sean Kenny-Dowell was offside. I was looking at the lines on the pitch, but it was like the mode lines rather than the actual white lines. And when I look back at it again, I was thinking, I can't take that as again, it's hindsight. Straight away, I thought, he's offside. And then, as you say, if you kind of take a step back, yeah, you turn around and go, it would have been harsh to disallow it.
The other tweet we had was, how biased are you?
Would I say, sight, what do you expect from that?
If you don't want...
It doesn't say general rugby
don't
league.
Follow redv.net.
Yeah, it doesn't say general rugby league.
Yeah.
Not here for that.
Bizarre. We have just touched on it, but how good is it that we've got a bunch of senior players who can take training? Mike Rush will be getting ideas about not employing a coach when Christian Wolf actually leaves at some point. Or we'll just give it to the senior lads.
No, you know what? It is an amazing kind of bit of information that your senior players can do it. And I think, does that, again, justify the likes of having, not necessarily like we are going to have to freshen up that pack in the next couple of years, but having the likes of James Graham there, having the likes of Kyler Moore, having the likes of Louis McCarthy-Scarsbrook, having James Roby, all players in the 30s who've all been there, done it, won it, and can literally just turn around and say, we're going to do basic, we're not going to try and reinvent the wheel here, but we're going to put on a training session which will be fit for purpose. Let's try and get the 2 points, and we can move on to the week after.
some of the tweets coming in, which I will try and show in a moment. Let's see what the fans thought of that one. Here we go. The game was dictated by the James Bentley tackling machine. Oh, James Bentley, man of the match on Sky, Kev.
Yeah, I can't argue with that. That 1 year deal that he's signed, I think the ink might not even be wet on it, and Saints need to be looking at a longer deal for him. I know it'll have been necessitated by the current situation, and we might be looking at salary cap going forward. But to me, you can't let him go anywhere else.
Tim York, highlights for Tony Smith's new image. Do you know what struck me? How much he looked like Tony Carroll, who used to be at Leeds with the goatee beard.
Fair enough.
He must have a picture pinned up on his wall. Was Smith at Leeds at the same time as Tony Carroll?
I don't know, potentially.
Right, I'll get pictures of them and I'll put them up on the Twitter later. Which saddened, who was worried at half time, saying, given that we didn't have any coaching staff and we've got James Roby, do we even need a coaching staff? I think we just touched upon that. Paul Caswell, probably the best 6-word match report that we probably need for this. Take the win and move on.
That is correct.
Matt did the job without being overly convincing. Little concern about changing plans when the forwards aren't dominant. But listen, we still scored 32 points in the game that we weren't at our best, and we had quite a lot of drop balling.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, listen, sometimes you're going to have a dog of a game and you've just got to get through and take the 2 points. It wasn't for anything but 2 points, that. If you'd have been worried at half-time if we'd have been playing like that in a cup semi-final or a playoff game or one of the finals. But, yeah, you're going to have league games like that where you're not at your best.
Sean Bibby thinks we need to be more clinical, but we regrouped well at half-time. I think you were saying that, Kev.
Yeah.
Let's hope Theo's back next week, because that will be a big loss. We'll touch on that later in the week once we find out how he is, but potentially it's going to be Lewis Dodd's chance to come into the side.
Yeah, you'd think so. You might have thought Jack Welsby would be kind of a step ahead of him, but with us having so many players out, Welsby maybe needed to fill in that gap on the wing, because Welsby plays in the halves as well. But I think this has got to be the time for Lewis Dodd. People have been calling for it. We've been told that he's ready and he's been 18th man every week. If Theo, and you'd imagine with it being a shorter turnaround and us playing Friday, if Theo's going to miss out, then I think you've got to go with Lewis Dodd.
Andreas, given the pass, given the unusual circumstances, he thought it was a similar performance against Cass. Listen, I think Cass have been decent over the last few weeks. I know they haven't been coming up with the points, but you can only beat what's in front of you. I feel it's a bit unfair what he's saying about Wolf has got to get in his head that every game's to be won on its own merits. I think he comes across and he says that each week. And if he didn't feel that, he wouldn't be picking the best 17 every week. Yeah. He'd be mixing and matching. Brenda, glad to take the win in the circumstances. The Red V thought we looked lost on field, injuries caused the on-field changes. But is that every team? When you have all of a sudden you've got a bit of a reshuffle mid-game?
Yeah, I think Hull KR obviously had to do the same. So it was never going to be a classic. It was never going to be one team kind of taking it away from the other. You've just got to do what's best and be sharp and make the right changes and stick with them, as I said earlier, and just making that one change of Roby slotted into 7 rather than reshuffling the whole back line. I think, obviously, it's come out as a win, and that, to me, makes it the right choice.
Yeah, listen, we've won a game there without Percival Makinson, Morgan Knowles, who is a massive loss, and then losing one of your halves halfway through the fixture after a week without a coach being there. That's...
Yeah, one thing that does worry me ahead of next week as well is James Roby went off towards the end for a head injury assessment. So that's another worry ahead of next week, that because it's a shorter turnaround. Hopefully he's past that.
On the plus side, Kev, it goes on a baseline at the start of the year.
Fair enough. What are you trying to say?
That he's had all the sense knocked out of him. He's a rugby machine.
Yes.
Hey, James is a clever lad, isn't he? He was going to do a sports science degree, wasn't he?
Yeah.
So we're James, that's a bit unfair.
Is that
so
your
you're a clever
apology
lad.
Yeah.
I don't know what growing hairs that's about. Super saying, considering we trained through Zoom, I don't think we actually trained through Zoom. I think we trained on the pitch, but yeah, I know what you mean. Pass the ball. It's like one of the videos where you pass the ball and the next person catches it. That's tickled. Again, back row missing. Leighton Wicks, not the result, 46-0 we were told to bet. Oh! Listen, I'm not having that. I never told to put your money anywhere. It's only me who loses money betting on us. But yeah, is there anything James Roby can't do? That's a topic. No. That's a midweek topic, isn't it? We'll have to put things that James Roby can't do. He's gonna be like Chuck Norris.
Yeah. Well, that's it. I did actually see that the new MLB said for you to keep your mad predictions out of next week as well. So I'll make sure you do that.
Okay. Chris Harvey, disappointed on the Helens fan. That's what the coaching staff. And lastly, I think we've got a couple from Facebook. See that 3-year-old you just did. This one with potty training, which was.
I thought he was training you.
If we win 46-0 next week, I'll show you me and my nappy.
Oh, please don't. Please, good God.
Dave Oliver, what a run and dummy from LMS near the end. New sense from Percy returns. Luke's always had that in this game, hasn't he?
Yeah.
And again, David Smith thought we were poor even before Farge went off, but we scored 32 points. You don't have to be your best every single week. You don't win awards for that. Mark Brotherston, interesting to hear Christian's not been able to train the players. I'm sure it combined with the fact that we had a few players missing disruption. So everybody's pretty much on the same wavelength, aren't they, Kev?
Yeah, I think so. That's it. It's a big thing not to have your coaching staff available, and the senior players have to kind of take training. They'll have had some kind of instruction, obviously, but it's good having that experience around the squad. You can't just go with all youth. You need that good mix, and we've got that good mix.
Yeah. I'll a thought in my head. Better left unsaid. I think that's about it, Kev.
Yeah, fair enough.
Kev, if we win the double, will you definitely play the guitar for us?
If we win the double, I will try and play the guitar for you. They're not my guitars.
I'll borrow my little girl's £8.99 ukulele and I'll join in with you.
Okay, fair enough.
We'll do a duet. We'll be like Robson and Jerome.
Brian Robson and Cameron Jerome.
Probably. So yeah, we will move on. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. And we will catch you during the week for the Red V preview show, which should be out on Wednesday night. Thanks for joining us, Kev. See you later.
See you later.